my first real guitar was a Prince Albert box. I think they're going to show that in my life and time of Jimmy Martin. They just completed the film at the Louisiana Hayride this year, and my first guitar was a Prince Albert can where the head of it I mashed it in, and I'd stretch little rubber bands over it, and I'd make noise and sing. And the first song that I ever sung on my first guitar was Kitty and Sambo sitting in the bed. Kitty broke a fiddle over Sambo's head. It wasn't very long till Sambo died, and Kitty made a fiddle out of Sambo's hide. One of them old Uncle Dave Macon songs.
All right. How old were you when you joined Bill Monroe's Bluegrass Boys as lead singer and MC?
Well, I was, I think I was around 22 years old, but I had borrowed money off my granddaddy Martin, $10 to go to Morristown to get me a job painting in a big factory over there called Lowlands Ankle Plant, and I was painting machinery, and I got a job on the radio station with some guys that was on from 4:30 till 5, and I got to get into a little music with them. Then I sang all day out there painting, and I got fired twice off of the job. And the guy said they liked me, but they said I sung all the time, just bothered them all to death. Said be all right if I could sing, but I couldn't sing.
Couldn't sing,
Yeah.
huh?
Then every day on the radio from 4:30 to 5, I'd do all of them a song, you know. And I know they'd have the radio turn and listen at me. I know they're getting a big kick out of it. I like to do all my good buddies out there that works on a job with me. And one time they fired me and I didn't get my job back. And that's how come me to come to Nashville, because I'd always listened to Bill Monroe. And I told my mother one of these days I was going down to the Grand Ole Opry, and they'd turn the radio on and hear me singing in Bill Monroe's quartet some part. And I love Bill singing, and I love Roy Acuff, and always loved Uncle Dave Macon, Little D. Fort Bailey, and Wally Fowler and his Oak Ridge Boys, and all like that, and Rod Brashfield. And so when I got ready to come down here to try out for Bill, I got fired off my job, so I come on down here, and I tried to get a boy to come with me because I hadn't been in a town as big as Nashville, and I was afraid I'd get lost trying to find out where the Grand Ole Opry was. So I come on down by myself, and when I got to the bus station, the Grand bus station, I asked the people in there, I said, what's the closest hotel that I can get to so I can see the Grand Ole Opry and won't get lost getting back to it? And so they told me it was the Sam Davis Hotel, and I stood on the 5th floor and looked where I could see the Ryman Auditorium, and they showed it to me. And so I went down there and got me a ticket and come back up and got ready. That night, my ticket, I had to set in the balcony. And so I was way up there about middle ways of the balcony, and I'd see with a mandolin. Now, I didn't know it was Bill Monroe, but I always thought Bill Monroe, the way he sang, he'd be a little guy. And I seen him with a big white hat and a red shirt and white pants on, black slippers, walking across there with a mandolin. I said, I bet you $1 that's Bill Monroe. And Lord, he weighed about 260 pounds. Great big man, 6 foot tall and something. I said, Jesus Christ, that ain't Bill Monroe, I hope. and sure enough was. Directly I all come out there and he sung Brakeman's Blues. And as soon as he got through singing, I run down out of the balcony and went around to the back and asked them where the people comes out of the stage. After they get off stage, they said they come out that door right there. I stood right there and leaned up against a light pole, and when old Bill come out, I told him who I was and where I was playing. He's asked me what did I play and sing. I said, I play a mandolin up there, but I can't play as good as you. And I sang baritone. I said, in your quartet, I sang bass, baritone, lead, or tenor. It don't make any difference. And I said, I've always liked Joe and Lester singing. And I said, I play a guitar and kind of sang lead like Lester did with you. And he said, well, would you want? I said, I'd always like to sing one with you. He said, well, you want to come in here and sing one with me? He went right back in, crawled up them steps, got his mandolin back out of the case, and told Mac Wiseman. Mac Wiseman had Bill's guitar, which is a herringbone D28. And he said, and that's the one that Lester Flatt played while he was with him. And said, let this boy have it. he got his mandolin, strapped it around there, and old Chubby Wise got his fiddle and the banjo player and the bass player. And he asked me, he said, "What would you like to sing?" And I said, "Well, about a week ago, I got a new record out at a record shop, and you and Lester singing a brand new one called All Cross Roads." And I said, "I got my handkerchief out and cried. It's so lonesome." And he looked at me and said, "Well, let's try that. I ain't sang that since Lester left." And we cut loose and sang that. And boy, while we was singing it, Roy Acuff stuck his head in the door there and said, "Monroe." Bill said, "Yeah, Roy." He says, "That boy in the kin to you singing with you there?" And Bill says, "No, he's not." Roy Acuff said, "So he sure sounds good and blends with you awful good, Bill." And my britches legs were just shaking right then and knees, you know. And so after that, he asked me to sing a solo, and I sung Poor Ellen Smith. Then after that, he said, "How are you on a guitar following hoedowns, fiddle tunes?" I said, I guess I could do pretty good. He said, "How about Chubby Wise playing the Orange Blossom Special?" I said, "I've heard him up in Sneedville on radios and heard you and him play it. I believe I could follow him." So he cut loose and played the Orange Blossom Special. And when they got through, Bill looked at Chubby and said, "Chubby, what do you think about this boy's rhythm and how he plays that guitar?" Chubby looked at him with them little fat jaws and said, Lordy Monroe, I thought Lester Flat had it, but said this boy's Flat got it." So Bill had me to stand off there and said he'd be back in a few minutes and come back by and talk to me. Told me how hard it was to go on the road and travel. If I'd like to, he'd like for me to go next week and go on the road and sing some with him and just see how I liked how tough it was. So I told him, I said, "Well, I haven't got but one change of clothes." And he told his banjo player, said, "Here's, give me $20," and told Rudy, said, "Take him on up to his hotel room and keep him up there, and we'll take him to Arkansas with us next week." So I went with him, and he bought me some stage clothes. And I went with him played 5 nights, and every night we took 2 and 3 and 4 encores on the show. He'd introduce me as, "Here's a little young fella that come up backstage and sung with him at the Grand Ole Opry, and he liked him. He want to see what you folks think about mine and his singing together." Wasn't nobody on the stage but me and Bill and his mandolin. And man, we tore that crowd all to pieces. And he told me when I got ready to get out of the bus, he said, "Are you in the Union? You can record Traveling That Lonesome Road with me." And Mac Wiseman recorded it, but he liked to kind of with the yodels and things I done in it. And I wasn't in the Union, so I didn't get to record with him. He said, "Go home, get your clothes, and you've got you a job if you want to go to work with me." So that's how I got the job with Bill Monroe.
All right.
And I also told the great Bud Wendell, I said, "Bud, when Bill Monroe give me a job," I said, my dad died when I was 4 years old, and I didn't have a chance to get no education. But I said, when he give me a job and I got to stand on the side and watch Roy Acuff, Rod Brashfield, Uncle Dave Macon, Minnie Pearl, and D. Fort Bailey, and all them stars, and Bill Monroe, I said, I got the best education that I ever wanted to get in country music. And I knew how to do a crowd. I didn't copy nobody, but always watched Roy Acuff, Ernest Tubb. I like the way the MC shows. And so that's about the influence of me of getting a job with Bill Monroe.